And for 12 months after my mother died, I continued to be angry at her death, to be angry at the supposed consolation of religion that the rest of the family and her friends offered. And after the full year of grieving, I was no closer to any peace, no closer to any balance. Then finally I went back to the hospital where she died. She died of cancer in a Roman Catholic hospital. I went back to the hospital where she died, and I remembered those days of her suffering. And I wanted to go to the room in which she died, where I had slept on the floor next to her for the last 10 days of her life. And I wanted to recapture that moment, to see if I could start again from there, to find some way out of that mystery of death. Death was like a blackness, like a darkness surrounding me. I had no way to understand it. And I had no way to balance my life again without a mother. The nurses at the hospital told me, they were nursing sisters of course, they told me that no, the room is being used, we cannot give you access at the moment, but come after some time and we will show you. So they sent me to the library, because it was a hospital attached to a convent. They sent me to the library to wait for them. There I found a book about the life of a monk, of an American monk called Thomas Merton. It's called The Seven-Storey Mountain. His autobiography is quite famous. And I read it. The nurses forgot me and I forgot to go down. The book was so engrossing. It was an exact copy of my own life. He was a philosopher, he was left-wing in his politics, and his mother died, and he was a fan of films, and the books that he read were the books that I read. It was a mirror image of my own life, but he in America and me in Australia. So after his mother died, he worked his way to peace in a Roman Catholic monastery. So I thought, on reading this book, well, someone who is so like me, a philosopher, someone who was atheistic for so many years, someone who was intelligent, a critic and judge of his own life and of Western life, and he arrives at peace in a monastery. Well, maybe I can do the same. So I ignored those parts of the book which discussed his growing faith in God. He had a friend in the university who converted him, if you like, to a real faith in God. So I just took the simple idea from the book, that he exchanged his university for a monastery, and in the monastery he found peace. So I thought, let me do the same. Let me exchange my university for a monastery. So I telephoned to a Roman Catholic monastery the next day, and I asked if I might go and be a monk. The person who answered the phone asked me, well, which church do you come from? I told him, no, I don't go to church. He asked me, which priest, your spiritual father, did he recommend you to us? I said, no, I don't know any priest, I don't have any spiritual father. He said to me, oh, you don't go to church and you don't know any priest, and yet you want to be a monk? I'm sorry. And he closed the phone. So he thought I was crazy, for sure. I had some weird idea of monasticism, and he wasn't going to buy into that. Then I looked in the phone book and I found another monastery. It was called a Serbian Orthodox monastery. Okay, I tried it. I rang and I said, can I come for a visit? And it was the bishop, I found out later. He answered. He said, come and see. Now he used these exact words for a reason. I understood, at the time I didn't connect it, but afterward I understood very well that rather than ask me questions as the Catholic priest did, he didn't want to prejudge the issue, so he just said, come and see. And where did he find that formula of words? From the Bible. When Jesus appeared after John Baptist's arrest, the disciples of John Baptist started to change over to Jesus. And when Philip attached himself to Jesus, he discovered that this is the teacher which we want. And he went to his friend Nathaniel, and he said to him, come and see. And Nathaniel said, nothing good can come from Nazareth. And Philip insisted, come and see, which is a non-committing. You don't commit yourself to anything, just come and see. And this Serbian bishop said to me, come and see. Well, I was pleased with that, and I said, yes, I'll come. The day I arrived, it was a Saturday. And on Saturdays in the Catholic Church, in the Orthodox Church, Greek Orthodox Church, in the Coptic Church, in all of these sacramental churches, there is a commemoration of the dead on Saturday. And they came from their liturgy just at the time that I entered the monastery. We went to the cemetery where the Serbian people remembered their dead. I was attempting to go in the car with the bishop because he had shaken my hand and welcomed me. He said to me, no, I prefer you to go with this lady and gentleman. I got in the car with them and I found that they were a couple whose daughter had paid a visit to the monastery and had been killed in a car crash. She was joyriding with some boys up and down the long highway, which was dead straight and dead flat outside the monastery. And the car overturned and she alone was killed. And this couple were bitter. And they said, God has stolen our daughter, killed our daughter. We sent her to his house and he has killed her. They were very bitter. And I was also very bitter. I was saying, yes, my mother has died and God didn't help. If there was any God, he didn't help me. So we were complaining to each other about God being the cause of our misery. So it was, whether the bishop realized it or not, he was giving us a comfort by putting the two most miserable groups together. After the cemetery, the Serbian people went to the church to make a prayer. They make a prayer on that occasion to St. Mary. When we entered the church, there is a big icon of St. Mary on the wall. Now, I had seen icons from time to time as a part of art history, art journals and books, but I knew very little about them, and I certainly had no personal experience of icons at that time. St. Mary I had heard of course. All the world has heard of her, but I knew nothing personally about her because my parents were Protestant and didn't believe that she was anything other than just an ordinary girl who happened to give birth to Jesus. So I had no intimate acquaintance with her as Theotokos, or Mother of God. I had no understanding of her role in the Orthodox Church. I knew that Catholics called her Virgin Mary, but that was all I knew. And I'd seen some pictures of her in newspapers or magazines, as everybody has seen. But she didn't mean much to me. I went into this church and I found all the people making a matanya, that is bowing down to the icon of St. Mary. And I was astonished, because Australian men don't bow down to anybody. I mean, the usual greeting in Australia is a handshake, and that's it. Even if a taxi driver meets the Prime Minister, he will not bow down to him, he will not kiss his hand, he will not even bend his head unless he wants to. He will just shake his hand and that will be it. So informal and equal greetings between people of very different standing is just the Australian norm. So I had no preparation for the matanya, for the abasing of oneself physically, for bending down to make an obeisance to a figure of abstract power. So I didn't feel easy, but I wanted to be polite. And I saw all the Serbian people make their matanyas to this icon of St. Mary. And after they finished their 3 matanyas, they went to the side of the church where the priest was praying. And the people started to sing hymns to St. Mary with the priest.